I was thinking.
Never, Your Majesty, was there greater need for thought than now.
That's what I was thinking. Well, what is it? More trouble?
What one might call the old trouble, Your Majesty.
It is what I was just saying to Her Majesty just the other day. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown, was how I put it.
A profound and original thought, Your Majesty, which may well go down to posterity.
I think you mean it may go down well with posterity? I hope so. Remind me to tell you something else I was telling Her Majesty. Something about a fierce light beating down on the throne. Posterity would like that too, you know. Well, what is it?
It is in the matter of Her Royal Highness's wedding.
Oh. Yes.
As Your Majesty is aware, the Prince Simon arrives today to seek Her Royal Highness's hand in marriage. He has been traveling in distant lands, and as I understand it, he has not...
You mean he hasn't heard anything?
It is a little difficult to put this tactfully, Your Majesty.
Well, do your best, and I will tell you afterwards how you got on.
Let me put it this way. The Prince Simon will naturally assume that Her Royal Highness has the customary, so customary as to be, in my own poor opinion, slightly monotonous, has what one might call the inevitable, so inevitable as to be, in my opinion again, almost mechanical, has the, as I think of it, falsely faultless, icily regular, splendid...
What you are trying to say, in the fewest words possible, is that my daughter is not beautiful.
Her beauty is certainly elusive, Your Majesty.
It is. It has eluded you, it has eluded me, it has eluded everyone who has seen her. It even eluded the court painter. His successor is now painting the view of the water meadows from the west turret. His doctor advised him, keep to landscape.
It is unfortunate, Your Majesty, but there it is. One just cannot understand how it could have occurred.
You don't detect a like. You don't think she takes after me at all, do you? You don't detect a likeness?
Most certainly not, Your Majesty.
Good. Your predecessor did.
I have often wondered what happened to my predecessor.
Well, now you know.
Looking on the bright side, although your daughter is not strictly speaking beautiful,
Not truthfully speaking beautiful.
yet she has great beauty of character.
My dear Chancellor, we are not discussing my daughter's character, but her chances of getting married. You do observe a distinction?
Yes, Your Majesty.
Look at it from a suitor's point of view. If a girl is beautiful, it is easy to assume that tucked away inside her is an equally beautiful character. But it is impossible to assume that an unattractive girl, however elevated in character, has tucked away inside her an equally beautiful face. That is, so to say, not where you want it. Tucked away.
Quite so, Your Majesty.
This doesn't, of course, alter the fact that Princess Camilla is quite the nicest person in the kingdom.
She is, indeed, Your Majesty. With the exception, I need hardly say, of Your Majesty and Her Majesty.
Your exceptions are tolerated for their loyalty and condemned for their extreme fatuity.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
As an adjective for your king, the word nice is ill chosen. As an adjective for Her Majesty, it is ill chosen.
talking about Camilla, I see.
As always, my dear, you are right.
So, this Simon fellow, what is he like?
Nobody has seen him, Your Majesty.
Well, how old is he?
5 and 20, as I understand it.
You mean to tell me that in 25 years, nobody's seen him?
Just a fleeting glimpse.
What I meant, Your Majesty, is that no detailed record of him has reached this country, save that he has the normal personal advantages and qualities expected of a prince, and he has been traveling in distant and dangerous lands.
Well, does he suffer from sunstroke or anything? Anything gone wrong with his eyes?
Not that I am aware of, Your Majesty. As I was venturing to say to His Majesty, the Princess Camilla's character and disposition are so outstanding.
Stuff and nonsense! You remember what happened last year at the Tournament of Love?
I was not myself present, Your Majesty. I had not the honor of... I was abroad and never heard the full story.
Right. It was the other fool. Well, they all rode up to Camilla to pay their homage. It was the first time they'd seen her. The heralds blew, and it was proclaimed whoever was left master of the field should be proclaimed the victor. They all charged enthusiastically into the ring when... Don't do that!
I'm sorry, my dear.
And what happened? They all simultaneously fell off their horses and assumed posture of defeat.
One of them was not quite so quick as the others. I was very quick. I proclaimed him the victor.
Yes. So, that night at the Feast of the Betrothal,
We were all very quick.
the Chancellor proclaimed that by the laws of the land, the suitor had to pass a further test. He had to answer correctly to a riddle.
Such undoubtedly is the fact, Your Majesty.
There are times for announcing facts and times for looking at things in a broad-minded way. Please remember that, Chancellor.
Yes, Your Majesty.
It was a rather simple one, I thought. What is it that has 4 legs and barks like a dog? A dog!
Do you see that?
Yes, Your Majesty.
It isn't difficult.
He, however, seemed to find it so. He uttered such preposterous things, such as an eagle, a serpent, a moonless night, the day after tomorrow.
Nobody can accuse him of not trying.
I did.
What I meant to say was that nobody can fail to recognize in his attitude an appearance of doggedness.
Finally, he uttered death. So I nudged the king.
Accepting the word nudge for the moment, I rubbed my ankle with one hand and clapped him on the shoulder with the other. I congratulated him on the correct answer, and he disappeared under the table. Personally, I never saw him again.
He was found the next morning in the moat.
But what was he doing in the moat, Your Majesty?
Bobbing about. Try not to ask needless questions.
It all seems so strange.
What does?
That Her Royal Highness, of all the princesses anyone has ever heard of, should lack the one invariable attribute of royalty, supreme beauty.
That was your great Aunt Malcolm's fault. She just had to come to the christening. You know what she said.
It was cryptic. Great Aunt Malkin's besetting weakness. She came to my christening. She was 101 then. That was 51 years ago. How old would that make her now?
152, Your Majesty.
About that, yes. She came to my christening. She said I should have all the happiness of which my wife deserved. It struck me at the time. Well, when I mean at the time, I was only a week old. But it did strike me, as soon as anything could strike me, of that nature. Well, work it out for yourself, Chancellor. Although I do not desire to go into it all that deeply with Her Majesty.
I've never heard anything less cryptic. She was wishing you extreme happiness.
I don't think she was wishing me anything, however.
But what, Your Majesty, did she wish upon Her Royal Highness?
Her other godmother, on my side, wished her the dazzling beauty of which all women in my family are famous for.
Yes, indeed, Your Majesty.
Yes, but great Aunt Malkin said. What were the words?
I give you with this kiss a wedding day surprise, where ignorance is bliss, 'tis folly to be wise. I thought the last two lines rather neat, but what it meant...
We can all see what it meant. She was wished dazzling beauty, and where is it? And the wedding day surprise is that there will never be a wedding day.
Young men being what they are, my dear, I'd be more surprised if there ever were a wedding day. So how...
Oh, hello, darling. Oh, I say, affairs of state. Sorry.
Camilla, please don't go!
Shall I withdraw, Your Majesty?
Camilla! You are aware that Prince Simon arrives today?
Oh, he has arrived. They're just letting down the drawbridge.
Arrived? I must...
Oh, darling, you know what the drawbridge is like. It takes at least half an hour to let it down.
It wants oil. Have you been grudging it oil?
It wants a new drawbridge, darling.
Your Majesty, may I...
Of course, of course.
Have you talked with the Chancellor yet?
I was just going to...
Well,
when-
then I'd better. Have you spoken with the girl yet?
I was just going to...
I'll
when-
have her sent for you. Have you told... Camilla?
My dear, are you sure?
Oh, I insist. I insist. My daughter!
Camilla! I want to talk to you seriously about marriage.
Yes, Father?
It's time you learned some facts of life.
Yes, Father?
Now, the great fact about marriage is that once you're married, you live happy ever after. All of our history books affirm this.
Oh, and your own experience too, darling.
Well, let us confine ourselves to history for the moment.
Yes, Father.
There may be an exception here and there, which, well, never mind.
Oh, go on, darling. You were going to say that an exception here and there proves the rule that all princesses are beautiful.
Well, leave that for the moment.
Yes, Father.
Your mother and I have a little plan.
Was that it going out the door just now?
Yes, it involves your waiting maid.
Darling, I have several.
Only one that leaps to the eye, so to say. The one with, well, everything.
Ducibella.
That's the one. It's our little plan that at the first meeting, she should pass herself off as the maid, as the princess. A harmless ruse of which you will find frequent record in the history books. And allure Prince Simon, that is, so to say, bring him up to his... The wedding will take place immediately afterwards and as quietly as possible. Naturally, in view of the fact that your great Aunt Malkin is 152, and you'll be wearing the family bridal veil, which no doubt is how the custom arose, the surprise after the ceremony will be all his. Are you following me so far? Your attention seems to be wandering.
I was wondering why you needed to tell me.
Just a precautionary measure, in case you meet the prince or his attendant before the ceremony, in which case, of course, you would pass yourself off as the maid.
A harmless ruse, which also you'll find a frequent record in the history books.
Exactly! But the occasion need not arise.
The woman! Ducibella!
Ah, Camilla, if you were retired, we will send for you for the actual ceremony. Come in, my dear. Now, don't be frightened. You have nothing to be frightened about. Has Her Majesty told you what you have to do?
Yes, Your Majesty.
Well, let's see how well you can do it. You'll be sitting here, we'll say. Now, imagine that I am Prince Simon, and you, the beautiful Princess Camilla, whom he has never seen. This is an important moment in your life. You'll find that a giggle will not be helpful. I am to be announced. His Royal Highness, Prince Simon! That is me, being announced. Remember what I told you about giggling? You should have a faraway look upon your face. Farther away than that. No, that's too far. You should be sitting there thinking beautiful thoughts. In maiden meditation. Fancy-free, as I remember saying to Her Majesty once, speaking of someone else, fancy-free but with the mouth definitely shut. That's better. I advance and fall upon one knee, and you extend your hand graciously. Graciously. You don't want to push him in the face. That's better. I am to raise it to my lips and kiss it so. Maybe not so ardently as to more like, and I say, Your Royal Highness, this is the most, it'll be something complimentary. He will press it to his heart, and what do you say?
Coo!
No, not coo.
Never had I had anybody do that to me before.
That also strikes the wrong note. What you want to say is, oh, Prince Simon.
Oh, Prince Simon!
You need not shout it till he has said what 2 or 3 times. And always keep in mind he may not be deaf. Softly, the words with the dying fall. Let them play around in his head like a flight of doves.
Oh, Prince Simon! Prince Simon! Prince Simon!
Keep in mind, rather, a flight of doves, not a flock of panic-stricken elephants. I'm to get up, and you are to waft me to a seat by your side. Wafting, not rescuing a drowning man. That's a different idea altogether. Although useful at times, but at the moment, inappropriate. Wafting. All you need to do is indicate with a gracious movement of the hand. That's better. Well, here we are. I say you give me a look. Something, let us say, halfway between the breathless adoration of a nun,
Ha, ha, ha.
the voluptuous abandonment of the woman of the world,
Ha, ha.
with an undertone of regal dignity,
Ha, ha.
with good comradeship.
Ha!
Frankly, that was missing something. Something, as it were, of everything that I asked for, and in its place, the odd resemblance to an unsatisfied fish. Let's try to get it out another way. Ducibella, have you a young man of your own?
Oh, yes. He's ever so smart. He's an archer. Well, not as you might say a real archer. He works in the armory. But old Bottlenose, you know who I mean? The captain of the guard says the very next man that ever has to shoot my egg will take his place, knowing how it is with father. And me being a maid to Her Royal Highness, Egg can't remember till he's a real soldier. But ever so loving and funny like the things he says to me. Egg, I said to him once, Egg.
Ducibella, I rather fancy that if you think of Egg all the time, say as little as possible, and when thinking of Egg, see that the mouth is definitely not more than partially open, you do rather well for yourself. Now, I will show you where you're to sit and wait for His Royal Highness.
Coo!
And remember, waft, not quick.
won't you?
Who are you and how did you get in here?
That's a rather long story. Couldn't we sit down first? We could sit here if you liked, but it isn't very comfortable.
That is the king's throne.
Oh, is that what it is?
Thrones are not meant to be comfortable.
I don't know if they're meant to be, but this one certainly isn't.
Who are you and why are you sitting in the king's throne?
My name is Carlo.
Mine is Ducibella.
Good, now couldn't we sit?
You may sit here if you like. Why are you so tired?
I've been taking part in a very strenuous exercise.
Is that part of the long story?
It is.
I love stories.
This isn't a story, really. You see, I'm attendant here on Prince Simon, who is visiting.
Oh, I'm attendant on Her Royal Highness.
Then you know what he's here for.
Yes.
She's very beautiful, I hear.
Did you hear that? Where have you been lately?
Traveling in distant lands with Prince Simon.
Oh, all the same. I don't understand. Is Prince Simon in the castle now? The drawbridge can't be down yet.
Oh, I don't suppose it is. And what a noise it makes coming down.
Isn't it terrible?
I just had to get away. That's why I'm here.
But how?
There's only one way, isn't there? That beach tree. And a climb and a swing for the battlements. Don't ask me to remember it all.
You mean you came across the moat by that beech tree?
Why, yes, and I got so tired of hanging about.
Oh, but it's terribly dangerous.
That's why I'm so tired. Nervous shock.
Of course. It's different for me.
I'm sorry, could you say that again? I must have heard it wrong.
I said it's different for me because I'm so used to it. Besides, I'm so much lighter.
You mean that you?
Oh yes, often.
I thought I was a brave man. At least I didn't until 5 minutes ago. Now I don't again.
Oh, but you are brave. And I think it's wonderful to do it straight off at the first time.
Well, you did.
Oh no, not the first time, when I was a child.
You mean that you crashed?
You only fall into the moat.
Only? Can you swim?
Of course.
So you swam to the castle walls and yelled for help. Then they fished you out. And then they wallowed you. And then the next day you tried again? Well, if that isn't
Of
luck.
course I didn't. I swam to the moat and I tried it once. Well, I tried again at once. It wasn't until the third time I was actually able to do it. You see, I was afraid I might lose my nerve.
Afraid she might lose her nerve.
Oh, there's a way from getting over on this side, too. A tree grows on the side of that wall, and you jump into another tree. I don't think it's quite so easy.
Not quite so easy. You must show me.
Oh, I will.
Perhaps it might be as well as if you taught me how to swim first.
You can't swim?
Don't be so surprised. There's many things which I can't do. I'll tell you about them as soon as you have a few years to spare.
You mean you can't swim, and yet you crossed by the beech tree? And you're so much heavier than I am. Now who's brave?
You keep talking about how light you are. Stand up. I must see if there's anything to it. You're right, Ducibella. I could hold you here forever. You're very lovely. Did you know that?
Yes!
Why did you laugh?
Aren't you tired of holding me?
Frankly, yes. When you've been hanging over by the arms over a very deep moat for 10 minutes, wondering if it's too late to learn how to swim. Oh, what I meant was that I should like to hold you forever. Why did you laugh?
Oh, it's just a little private joke of mine.
If it comes to that, I have a private joke as well.
Mine's very private. Only one other woman in the whole world knows, and that's all.
Mine's just as private. Only one man knows, and that's all.
What fun! I love secrets.
Let's share.
All right, here's mine. When I was born, one of my godmothers promised that I should be very beautiful.
How right she was.
Oh. But the other one said this: I give you with this kiss a wedding day surprise, where ignorance is bliss, 'tis folly to be wise. Nobody knew what it meant, and I grew up very plain.
And then, when I was about 10, I met my godmother in the forest one day. It was my 10th birthday. Nobody knows this, except you.
Except us.
Except us. And she told me what her gift meant. It meant that I was beautiful, but everyone else was to go on being ignorant and thinking me plain until my wedding day. Because, you see, she didn't want me to grow up all spoilt and willful and vain, as I should have done if everyone had always been saying how beautiful I was. And the best thing in the world, she said, was to be quite sure of yourself, but not to expect admiration from other people. And ever since then, my mirror has told me I'm beautiful, while everyone else thinks me ugly. And I get a lot of fun out of it.
Well, seeing that Ducibella is the result, I think your godmother was very, very wise.
Now tell me your secret.
Upon hearing of all of Princess Camilla's beautifulness and haughtiness and imperiousness, Prince Simon was going to woo her, but he was worried that she would not take highly of him. So he suggested to one of his attendants, a man named Carlo, of extremely attractive appearance, that he was going to win her hand. And at the last moment, they would switch places.
But how?
The prince was going to have been married in full armor, with his visor down.
Oh, what fun!
Neat, but not so terribly funny. Why are you laughing?
Well, that's another private joke of mine.
I have one up my sleeve as well.
All right. You go first this time.
Very well. I am not Carlo. I am
Oh, what is it?
Cramp.
Shall I rub it for you?
I am Prince Sa.
Is this better?
I am Sa. I am Prince Simon.
I know.
How did you know?
You told me.
Want you to swoon or something?
Oh, no. History records many similar ruses.
Is that so? I've never read history. I thought I was being profoundly original.
No. Now I'll tell you my secret, for reasons very much like your own. The Princess Camilla, who is held to be extremely plain, feared to meet the Prince Simon. Is the drawbridge down yet?
Do your people give a faint surprise cheer every time it gets down?
Naturally.
Then it came down about 3 minutes ago.
Then at this very moment, your man Carlo is professing his passionate love for my maid, Ducibella. That, I think, is funny. By the way, Ducibella is in love with the man she calls Egg, so I hope Carlo isn't getting carried away.
Carlo is married to a girl who calls the little woman, so Egg has nothing to fear.
By the way, I don't know if you heard, but I said, or as good as said, that I am the Princess Camilla.
I wasn't so surprised. History, of which I read a great deal of, records many similar ruses.
Oh, Simon.
Camilla. May I try holding you again? Sweetheart.
You see, when you held me before, you said, "You are very lovely." And my godmother said the first person to think me lovely was the man I was going to marry. That is when I knew you were Prince Simon and that I should marry you.
I knew from the moment that I saw you that I should marry you, even if you were Ducibella. By the way, which of you am I marrying?
When she lifts her veil, it will be Camilla. Until then, it will be Ducibella.
Then goodbye, Camilla.
Goodbye, Simon.
Until you raise your veil.
Until you raise your visor.
Who and what is this? More accurately, who and what are these?
This is my attendant, Carlo, Your Majesty. He will, with your permission, prepare me for the ceremony.
Of course, of course.
McGee Ducibella, I believe, my love. She will prepare Her Highness for the ceremony.
Ah, yes. Most important.
Forgive me, Your Majesty, if I've done wrong, but I found this man wandering.
Quite right, my dear, quite right. We've pulled it off.
Have I Your Majesty's permission to place a final test upon His Royal Highness?
Is it safe?
Yes, I told him the answer a minute ago. Don't forget, dog. Proceed, Your Excellency. It is my desire that the affairs of my country should go constitutionally.
By the constitution of the country, a suitor to Her Royal Highness's hand cannot be deemed successful until he has given the correct answer to a riddle. The last suitor answered incorrectly and thus failed to win his bride.
By coincidence, he fell into the moat.
I have now to ask Your Royal Highness if you are prepared for the ordeal.
Absolutely.
I may mention, as a matter of possibly some slight historical interest to our visitor, that the same riddle cannot be asked on 2 successive occasions.
What's that?
This riddle, interesting to recall, was propounded exactly a century ago, and we must take it as a fortunate omen that it was really and truly solved.
I may want my sword directly.
The riddle is this: which is it which has 4 legs and mews like a cat?
A dog!
Bravo!
According to the records, according to the records of events, the correct answer would seem to be not a dog,
Your
but...
Majesty! If I may, His Royal Highness could never think of justifying himself on such an occasion. But if I could speak...
Certainly.
In our country, we have an animal that goes by the name of dog, or in the more mountainous districts, doggy. It sits by the fireside and purrs.
It purrs like anything.
When it needs milk, which is its staple food, it mews.
It mews like nobody's a business.
It also has 4 legs.
One at each corner.
In some countries, I understand that this animal is called a cat. In one very distant and faraway country, which His Royal Highness and I penetrated, it was called by the very curious name of hippopotamus.
That's right. Do you remember that the ginger-colored hippopotamus which used to climb on my shoulder and lick my ear?
I would never forget it, Your Majesty. So you see...
Yes, I think that makes it perfectly clear. You are about to agree?
Yes, Your Majesty, and may I be the first to congratulate the young prince on answering the riddle so accurately.
You may be the first to see that everything's in order for an immediate wedding.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Doubtless, Prince Simon, you will wish to retire and prepare yourself for the ceremony.
Thank you, sir.
Your Majesty, if I may accompany His Royal Highness, it is custom for princes of royal blood in our country to be married in full armor, that which requires certain adjustments.
Certainly. Now, son, you have a quality of quickness which I admire. It is my desire to reward you in any which way that commends itself to you.
Your Majesty is ever gracious. May I ask for my reward after the ceremony?
Certainly. Now, woman, make yourself scarce. We will see that you and your
Your Majesty.
egg are not forgotten.
Coo! 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 Coo!
Wait for me, Ducibella.
Well, my dear, we may congratulate ourselves. As I remember saying to somebody once, you have not lost a daughter, but you have gained a son. How does that strike you?
Stupid.
I thought that he and Ducibella made a handsome pair.
Both stupid.
I said nothing of stupidity. What I said was they were both extremely handsome. That is the important thing. Or isn't it?
Well, what did you think of Prince Simon, Camilla?
I adore him. We shall be so happy together.
Yes, like I said, happy ever after.
Run along now and get ready for the ceremony.
Yes, Mother.
My dear, have we been wrong about Camilla all this time? To me, she didn't seem quite so plain as usual. Did you notice anything?
It must be the excitement of the wedding.
Ah, yes, that would account for it.
Yeah.